instant noodles. Those quick, comforting meals we grab when we're in a hurry. Did you know they've been around since the 1950s? Today, they're more than just a snack. From college dorms to fancy kitchens, they're everywhere. Whether it's the classic flavors or the wild new ones, we all have our go-to favorites. Well, let's find out how instant noodles are made in a factory. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Process Powerhouse channel. Leave us a comment to let us know what mealtime favorites you'd like to see next. Who knows, maybe one day we'll find a pack so old it's got its own fan club. Instant noodles. The go-to meal for college students, late-night snackers, and anyone on a budget. But did you know these simple noodles have an interesting history? It all began in 1958 when Japanese inventor Momofuku Ando, who loved noodles, wanted to solve a food crisis in Japan. After seeing people waiting in long lines for a bowl of soup, Ando thought, why not create something quick, easy, and cheap to feed everyone? So, in his kitchen, he invented the first instant noodles. His goal was to make a meal that could be cooked in minutes with just hot water. No fancy tools or long prep. Simple, brilliant, and easy. Here's the twist. Ando's first instant noodle wasn't the ramen we know today. It was called chicken ramen, and it didn't come in cups or plastic-wrapped packets. Instead, it came in a cardboard box, kind of like a strange pizza box for noodles. The noodles were fried and vacuum sealed to make them last longer, which was important since Japan was still recovering from the war. This wasn't just any instant noodle. It was a big idea to feed a nation. Who knew a simple box of fried noodles would lead to one of the world's favorite snacks? Today, instant noodles are more than just a quick meal. They've become a worldwide craze. There are so many types now, it's like a noodle buffet in every supermarket. From spicy ramen to seafood noodles, to crazy combos like carbonara ramen. Yep, that's real. It's hard to keep up with all the new flavors. And let's not forget the toppings, from eggs to kimchi to whatever strange thing you've got in your fridge. Instant noodles have turned into a creative dish. What's even funnier? The debate over whether or not to add an egg has become a serious topic that brings noodle lovers together and sometimes divides them. So next time you cook up a pack, remember, you're not just making a meal. You're joining a tasty tradition and maybe a little noodle magic. Making instant noodles starts with getting the ingredients, which is key to making a good product. The most important ingredient is wheat flour, which forms the base of the noodles. Different types of wheat flour are used depending on the texture wanted, with higher gluten content being best for noodles. The gluten helps make the noodles chewy so they don't fall apart when cooked. Wheat flour is usually bought from suppliers who provide the right texture and consistency for the noodle dough. Along with wheat flour, water is an important ingredient and must be high quality. The water is filtered to remove any impurities that could affect the noodle's flavor or texture. Since noodles are mostly water and flour, the right balance and quality of these ingredients are key to how the noodles cook and absorb moisture for the perfect texture. Salt is also added to the water, which helps with flavor and acts as a preservative. The right amount of salt ensures the noodles taste good without being too salty, since they'll be paired with seasoning packets. The seasonings for the noodle soup or broth are also sourced separately. These include dried vegetables, spices, and protein powders, which vary depending on the flavor. In some places, special ingredients like dried seafood, chicken powder, or beef extracts are used to create a unique taste. These seasonings are important for giving the noodles their signature flavor, and manufacturers choose suppliers based on quality and reliability. Ingredients like freeze-dried meat or vegetables are often added to make the noodles feel more like a real meal and provide a better eating experience. Each ingredient goes through strict quality checks before it's sent to the factory. Manufacturers have a team that makes sure the wheat flour is the right type, the salt is pure, and the seasonings are fresh and properly processed. Suppliers usually need to provide certificates and safety guarantees. The quality of these ingredients affects the final product, so a lot of time and effort is spent getting the best materials to make sure the noodles taste the same in every batch. Once the ingredients arrive at the factory, the next step is mixing the dough. This begins by combining the wheat flour, water, and salt in big mixers. The goal is to create a smooth, uniform dough with the right consistency to make noodles. The amount of water used is important. Too much makes the dough sticky, while too little makes it dry and hard to work with. The quality of the water is also checked to make sure it's free of any minerals or chemicals that could affect the dough's texture. The dough is then kneaded to develop the gluten, which gives the noodles their chewy, elastic texture. Large machines do the kneading, copying the hand kneading process to make sure the dough is evenly mixed and has the right stretch. This step is important because it strengthens the dough, helping the noodles hold their shape and not break during steaming or frying. The gluten development is key to getting the perfect noodle texture, so the process is carefully watched. Kneading too much or too little can ruin the noodles, so it's important to keep it consistent. After kneading, the dough is passed through rollers to flatten it into thin sheets. The thickness of the sheets is controlled to make sure the noodles have the right texture. The sheets are then cut into noodle strands of a certain width, depending on the type of noodles being made. For example, ramen noodles are thinner, while udon noodles are thicker and heartier. Cutting machines with sharp blades make sure the noodles are the same size and shape, so they cook evenly. At this point, the dough is still quite raw, so it's important to get the cut noodles ready for the next step. The noodles are usually placed on trays or conveyor belts to keep their shape before cooking. The dough needs to be cut evenly, so all the noodles cook at the same speed. After cutting, the noodles rest for a short time to firm up before they're cooked. After mixing and kneading, the dough is ready to be rolled. The dough sheets are passed through rollers to flatten them to an even thickness. This step is important to make sure the noodles are the right thickness and have a smooth texture. The thickness can vary depending on the type of noodles, as different noodles need different levels of firmness. For example, thick udon noodles need a thicker sheet, while fine ramen noodles need a thinner, more delicate sheet. The dough sheets are then cut into strands with sharp machines. This step is important because the size and shape of the noodles need to be consistent for even cooking. The machines are set to a specific length and width to make sure the noodles are uniform. The settings are mostly automated and adjusted based on the type of noodle being made. The width of the noodles affects their final texture, so the machines must be carefully set to create noodles that cook evenly and give the perfect bite when you eat them. After the noodles are cut, they might go through another kneading step to improve their texture. Sometimes, the noodles are put back in a kneading machine to help them stick together and avoid breaking in the next steps. The kneading is done gently at this point to prevent making the noodles too tough. This final kneading ensures the noodles are soft and chewy, which is key to making them enjoyable to eat. After kneading and cutting, the dough strands are shaped into bricks or coils, depending on how they will be packaged. The noodle shapes are made to fit the usual packages, like the square bricks for classic noodle packs, or the round shapes for cup noodles. Each shape is measured and sized to fit perfectly in the packages or containers, so they cook evenly when hot water is added. This is when the familiar shapes of instant noodles start to take form. At this point, the noodles need to be cooked to get the right texture. There are two main ways to do this, steaming or frying, and the choice depends on the type of noodles. Frying is the most common method, used to make crispy instant noodles that cook in just a few minutes. The noodles are deep fried in hot oil at about 140 degrees Celsius, 284 degrees Fahrenheit, for a few minutes. This not only cooks the noodles, but also gives them their golden color and helps preserve them by removing extra moisture. The oil soaks into the noodles, making the outside crispy while keeping the inside soft and chewy. Fried noodles last longer, which is one reason they're so popular. Frying also helps lock in flavor, as the noodles soak up the oil and seasoning. However, because of the oil, fried noodles are higher in fat. For those looking for a lower fat option, some companies make steamed noodles instead. Steaming is a gentler method where the noodles are cooked in hot, moist air for a few minutes. The result is a soft, slightly bouncy noodle that cooks quickly when hot water is added. Steamed noodles are lighter and considered healthier by some because they're lower in fat. Steaming is often used for non-fried instant noodles, or those labeled as healthier, because it keeps more of the original flavor and lowers the fat. However, steamed noodles don't last as long as fried noodles. Because of this, they are either vacuum sealed or kept cold until they're ready to be shipped. This method gives the noodles a fresher taste, which many people prefer over the greasy texture of fried noodles. Both steaming and frying have their purpose, helping manufacturers meet different tastes. Fried noodles are crunchier, while steamed noodles stay softer. Each method has its own appeal, so manufacturers choose the one that best fits the product. It all comes down to the texture that consumers like the most. Once the noodles are steamed or fried, they need to cool quickly to stop the cooking. For fried noodles, this is usually done with large fans or air jets that blow cool air over them, keeping them from getting too greasy or soggy. This step makes sure the noodles stay at the right texture, whether they're meant to be crunchy or soft. If they're not cooled properly, they might keep cooking and end up with the wrong texture. The goal is to get them to the right temperature for packaging without making them too moist or sticky. Once the noodles are cooled, they're cut into their final form, usually brick shapes or portions for cup noodles. For brick-shaped noodles, they're compressed into a rectangle, making them easier to package and store. The brick shape also helps the noodles stay together while cooking. For cup noodles, the noodles are often measured to fit perfectly inside the cups. This ensures they cook evenly when hot water is added. This step needs precise measurements because uneven portions could cause the noodles to cook at different times. The cut noodles are checked for any defects or irregularities. Any broken noodles or ones that don't meet size standards are thrown out because consistency is important for meeting customer expectations. At this point, the noodles are delicate, so extra care is needed to avoid breakage. Some factories have workers manually inspect them, while others use machines with cameras to automatically spot any issues. Once the noodles are cut and inspected, they're ready for seasoning and packaging. They are now shaped and cooled, ready to be flavored and packaged for the perfect texture and taste. This step is the last before the noodles are sent to the warehouse. For shipping to stores and restaurants, the next step is adding the seasoning, which gives the noodles their signature flavor. The seasoning packets usually contain salt, sugar, flavor enhancers like MSG, dried vegetables, dehydrated proteins, and sometimes spices or special extracts, depending on the flavor. The seasoning mix can vary by region, brand, and noodle type. For example, ramen might be seasoned with soy sauce, miso, or salt, while flavors like chicken or seafood could use meat extracts or fish powders. The seasonings are usually added in one of two ways, through dry seasoning packets or by mixing the seasoning directly into the noodle brick. For dry packets, each one is filled with a measured amount of seasoning that creates the broth when added to hot water. The quality and consistency of the seasoning are important because they affect the flavor. Too much salt can make the noodles too salty, and too little can make them bland. When seasoning is added directly to the noodles, like in some cup noodles, it's sprayed onto the noodles. Special machines coat each noodle strand with seasoning, making sure the flavor is evenly spread. This method helps the flavor last longer and improves the taste as the noodles cook and absorb the seasoning. For some premium products, extra flavor enhancers are added to make the taste richer. These can include yeast extracts, spices, or sodium-based seasonings that give the noodles a savory, broth-like flavor. These extra ingredients add depth to the soup base, making it tastier. After the seasoning is applied, the noodles rest briefly to let the flavors settle before packaging. Once the noodles are seasoned, they move to the packaging stage. The packaging depends on the noodle type. For noodle bricks, the noodles are shaped into squares or rectangles and wrapped in plastic or foil to keep them fresh and safe from air and moisture. The packaging needs to be strong but lightweight and easy to open. Plastic films are commonly used, sealed with heat to keep the noodles fresh and free from contamination. For cup noodles, the noodles are placed in a disposable cup and sealed with a lid. The cup is usually made of styrofoam, plastic, or paperboard, each with its own benefits. Styrofoam helps keep the noodles hot while cooking, while plastic and paperboard are more eco-friendly options. The cup is often printed with the brand's logo, flavor name, and nutritional info for easy identification. Once the noodles are added, the cup is sealed tightly to keep moisture out and maintain freshness. Once the noodles are packaged, they go through a final check to look for defects like tears or misprints. Quality control systems, including cameras or automated machines, help catch any problems before the noodles move on. The packaging process is quick and automated, with machines sealing, labeling, and cutting the packaging. Every package must meet food safety standards set by local authorities to keep the noodles safe and fresh for a long time. The last step in packaging is labeling, where important details like nutritional facts, ingredients, and expiration dates are added. This is important for both consumer information and food safety rules. The noodles are now ready to be sent to distribution centers. Whether they're shipped in large crates or individually, this process makes sure they are safely transported and stay intact until they reach the store. Instant noodles have stayed popular worldwide because they are incredibly convenient, affordable, and versatile. They only take a few minutes to prepare, making them an ideal option for busy people, students, or anyone in need of a quick and satisfying meal. Their simplicity makes them a go-to choice for people all over the world, fitting perfectly into the fast-paced nature of modern life. Whether you're in a rush between classes, coming home late from work, or just need a quick snack, instant noodles are always there to help. Simply boil some water, add the noodles, and you're ready to eat. Another reason instant noodles are so popular is their low cost. They're cheap, which makes them affordable for people with different incomes. With a long shelf life and low price, they've become a staple in many homes, especially in places where other quick food options are more expensive. Families on tight budgets or in areas where fresh ingredients cost more often choose instant noodles. Their affordable price and ability to fill you up make them a great way to save money on food without losing out on taste. The variety of flavors has also helped keep instant noodles popular. Over time, makers have added many different options, from classic chicken and beef to more unique choices like kimchi or curry. This range keeps instant noodles interesting for a wide group of people and lets them be customized with extra toppings and seasonings. Some even like to try their own flavors by adding eggs, vegetables, or meat for a more personal meal. With so many choices, it's no wonder they've become a favorite food in many homes worldwide. Finally, instant noodles have become a part of pop culture and food trends worldwide, bringing people together across different countries. Their cultural importance, along with their steady quality, makes them a comforting, reliable choice for anyone who wants a quick, tasty meal. From college dorms to restaurants with ramen bars, instant noodles have made their way into daily life. Whether for a sense of nostalgia, convenience, or just craving a warm, simple meal, instant noodles have remained a favorite for decades, evolving with new tastes and trends. Stick around, there's even more exciting moments and processes coming up next. Here's a fun fact. Maple syrup has been around for centuries, long before it became a favorite for pancakes. Native people used to tap trees to collect sap and turn it into syrup. The process is still the same today, but now it's a huge industry. So, what's changed? What stayed the same? And why do we still love that sweet flavor with every bite? Well, let's find out how maple syrup is made in a factory. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Process Powerhouse channel. Leave us a comment to let us know what mealtime favorites you'd like to see next. Just don't get stuck on maple syrup. Maple syrup has been around long before your Sunday brunch, and its history is pretty sweet. The first people to use this sugary treat were Native Americans. Long before pancakes were a thing, they found out that maple sap could be turned into syrup. With just trees, fire, and some clever thinking, they tapped the trees, collected the sap, and boiled it over an open flame. Imagine doing all this under the stars, not your usual camping trip. No wonder they saw maple syrup as a gift from the gods. It really was liquid gold. When European settlers arrived, they quickly learned the sweet technique and saw they could collect more sap and boil it in larger amounts. What started as a slow process of boiling small amounts became a big industry as people found ways to do it faster and easier. What once took hours of boiling over a fire turned into a booming business. It's like the settlers went from, let's try this, to, let's make money off this maple magic, pretty fast. Word spread, and soon maple syrup was the latest craze. Today, maple syrup has gone from being a wild, tree-harvested treat to a multi-million-dollar business. While most of us find it in plastic bottles at the store, there are still places that use traditional methods, boiling sap over an open fire and keeping the craft alive. The best part is that even with all the new technology, the way it's made hasn't changed much. It's still about tapping trees, collecting sap, and turning it into the sweet, sticky syrup we love. It's like a little bit of history in every drizzle. Let's be real, whether it's the old way or the factory method, nothing beats that rich, sweet syrup on pancakes, waffles, or honestly, just about anything. Enough history lessons. Let's take a look inside the factory. The process of making maple syrup starts in early spring when sugar maple trees start waking up from winter. This time of year is key for collecting sap because the change in temperature between day and night is what makes it flow. During the day, temperatures rise above freezing, letting the sap flow, and at night, it drops below freezing, creating pressure in the tree. This pressure helps push the sap up through the tree and out of the tap hole, ready to be collected. The sap is mostly water with only 2 to 3% sugar, so it's just the start of the sweet process. The sap flow can change based on the weather, and producers keep an eye on it to get the most sap. Tapping a tree means drilling a small hole, about 2-3 inches deep, into the trunk. The hole has to be the right depth to avoid hurting the tree. A spout, or spile, is then placed in the hole to direct the sap into a collection system. The trees used for tapping must be at least 30 years old to make sure they're strong enough for it. In modern setups, sap is often collected using tubing that connects several trees, which can stretch for miles, making it easier to gather sap. Some systems even use sensors to track the flow and make sure the collection process is as efficient as possible. A single tree can produce 20 to 30 gallons of sap during the sugaring season. However, it takes about 40 gallons of sap to make just 1 gallon of syrup, so collecting sap efficiently is key. The sugar content in sap changes throughout the season. Early season sap is sweeter and lighter in color, while later season sap has a stronger flavor. This affects the taste and grade of the syrup. The timing of sap collection is important because it influences the flavor and grade. Sap is usually harvested over 4-6 weeks in early spring when temperatures are just right. Many producers experiment with different harvesting times to get the best balance of sweetness and richness. Deciding to tap a tree is a careful choice. Tapping needs to be done in a way that doesn't harm the tree's health. Drilling too deep or tapping too often can damage the tree and reduce sap flow in future years. Tapping should be done in moderation to keep the tree safe. After the season ends, the tap hole is sealed, and the tree is left to heal, making sure it stays healthy for future harvests. Experienced syrup makers know how to balance getting the most sap while keeping the forest healthy. They also watch over the forest's health, knowing that responsible practices will help future generations of syrup makers. After the sap is tapped from the trees, the next challenge is getting it to a central collection point. In the past, this was done by hand, collecting sap from buckets on each tree. But now, many large operations use a system of plastic tubing that connects trees like a sap highway. The tubes are set up along rows of trees, letting sap flow directly into a central tank. This makes collecting sap faster and more consistent, especially for big operations, and reduces the need for manual labor, saving time and effort. To make the process even better, many operations now use vacuum pumps to boost sap flow. These pumps create negative pressure in the tubing, which helps pull the sap out of the trees more efficiently. This is especially useful during cooler weather, when the natural pressure difference between day and night isn't as strong. Vacuum pumps can increase sap yields by up to 20%, making them a valuable tool for improving production. They also help extend the tapping season and make the sap flow more consistent, leading to higher yields. Some producers are even using solar-powered pumps to reduce energy use and make the process more eco-friendly. After the sap is collected, it's transferred to large storage tanks near the collection points. This reduces the time the sap is exposed to the weather and keeps it fresh. The tanks come in different sizes, from small ones for local producers to large, high-tech tanks with sensors for big operations. These tanks keep the sap at the right temperature to prevent it from spoiling. If the sap gets too hot, it could spoil and ruin the syrup. Regular checks and maintenance are important to keep the sap fresh and high quality. The sap is stored until it's ready to be boiled into syrup, and the key to good storage is keeping the right temperature. If the sap is stored too warm, it will ferment and affect the syrup's quality. Producers make sure to store the sap in cool places and closely watch the temperature. Keeping the right conditions helps the sap stay fresh until it's time to process it. This careful monitoring lets producers handle sap in batches, making sure each batch is high quality. While in storage, the sap is regularly checked for any signs of spoilage to ensure only the best sap is used. Now comes the exciting part, boiling the sap to make syrup. Since the sap is mostly water, it has to be boiled for a long time to evaporate most of the water, leaving behind the sweet sugars that make maple syrup so tasty. The sap is poured into a large, shallow pan called an evaporator, where it's heated over burners. The bigger the evaporator, the faster the process. In modern facilities, evaporators can handle thousands of gallons of sap each day, allowing for quick production. Smaller operations often use wood-fired evaporators to give the syrup a unique smoky flavor. Some syrup makers even offer smoky maple syrup for those looking for a different twist on the classic taste. As the sap boils, it creates a lot of steam, which needs to be vented out. The shallow pan design of the evaporator helps speed up the evaporation by giving more surface area. This is important because it takes about 39 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of syrup. The longer the sap boils, the thicker and sweeter it gets. Workers closely watch the temperature to make sure the sap doesn't overcook and lose its flavor. They use tools like hydrometers and refractometers to measure the sugar content and make sure the syrup has the right balance of sweetness, around 66 to 67% sugar. These tools help producers get the perfect syrup every time. The boiling process uses a lot of energy, needing plenty of fuel like wood or oil to keep the sap boiling for hours. As the sap thickens, the sugar content becomes stronger, and the syrup gets its rich color. Early in the season, the syrup is lighter, and by the end, it's darker and has a stronger flavor. Timing is key. Boiling too long can make the syrup burnt and bitter, while not boiling enough can leave it too watery. Experienced syrup makers know how to balance these factors to create syrup that's just right in sweetness, color, and thickness. This balance comes from years of experience and careful attention. The whole process needs constant attention because even small changes in temperature can affect the syrup's quality. Watching the syrup carefully as it boils makes sure only the best product moves forward. As the syrup gets close to being done, the sweet smell of boiling sap fills the air. For many people visiting maple farms, this smell brings back memories. This part of the process, though long and hard work, brings the syrup to life and is key to making high-quality syrup. Brings the syrup to life and is key to making high-quality syrup. Many syrup makers see this stage as the heart of their craft, where tradition and skill come together. Once the sap is boiled into syrup, it goes through a crucial filtering process to make sure it's pure and smooth. During boiling, tiny particles called sugar sand or niter form. These particles are harmless but can make the syrup look cloudy or feel gritty if not removed. Sugar sand forms when minerals and other solids settle out of the sap as it boils. It's important to filter these out to create clean, high-quality syrup. Many producers take pride in making syrup that's clear and smooth, as these qualities are linked to premium maple syrup. Filtering not only makes the syrup look better, but also helps keep its quality high. Clear syrup is often seen as more premium, and removing impurities gives it a smooth, silky texture that tastes great. After filtering, the syrup is checked one last time for consistency to make sure no particles are left that could affect the flavor or texture. Some producers might filter it again to make sure their syrup is perfect. This careful attention to detail is what sets small syrup makers apart from large-scale operations. The filtration process is key to determining the quality of the syrup. Small, artisanal syrup makers often take extra care with this step, sometimes filtering by hand using cloth bags, for a more traditional method. Larger operations may use machines to filter on a bigger scale. No matter how it's done, the goal is always to create a smooth, clear syrup that meets high taste and quality standards. The final product shows the skill and hard work of the syrup maker. After the syrup is filtered, it's graded based on color, flavor, and sugar content. Grading is important because it shows both producers and consumers the quality and taste of the syrup. In North America, syrup is usually graded as golden, light, amber, or dark, strong. Lighter syrups are harvested earlier in the season when the sap is sweeter and has more sugar. These syrups are milder and great for pancakes, waffles, and breakfast dishes. Darker syrups, harvested later, have a stronger flavor, which some people like for cooking and baking. The grading system also helps producers manage their stock and send the right syrup to the right markets. Golden syrup is known for its light, mild flavor and is usually the first syrup made in the season. As the season goes on, the syrup gets darker and its flavor gets stronger, leading to amber and dark syrups. Chefs and bakers often prefer these darker syrups for their bold, caramel-like taste. The grading system also affects the price. Lighter syrups are seen as more premium and usually cost more. Some buyers look for specific grades based on what they need, and knowing the grading system helps them pick the best syrup for their uses. After the syrup is graded, it's packaged into bottles, jars, or cans in different sizes, ready to be sold. Sometimes, it's sold directly to customers at the sugar shack or farm stand, giving people a chance to buy fresh, local syrup. Bigger producers usually sell through stores or wholesalers. No matter how it's sold, the grading system helps customers know what kind of syrup they're buying and helps producers manage expectations about flavor and quality. For smaller operations, the personal connection with customers is important, and many syrup makers offer tastings and advice on which syrup works best for different recipes. The grading system has changed over time to make syrup quality the same across North America. Today, most syrup is graded by standards like US Grade A and Grade B. Grading ensures the syrup is consistent in flavor, clarity, and look, which helps producers keep their customers' trust. It also lets customers choose the type of syrup they like best. By keeping these standards, the maple syrup industry makes sure customers can enjoy good quality syrup every year, no matter where it's made. After the syrup is filtered and graded, it moves to the final step, bottling and packaging. The syrup is put into containers of different sizes, from small glass bottles for personal use to large jugs for bulk buyers. Bottling is done carefully to keep the syrup's quality intact, as it is perishable. To prevent contamination and spoilage, the syrup is usually bottled while it's still hot, between 190 degrees Fahrenheit and 200 degrees Fahrenheit, 88 degrees Celsius to 93 degrees Celsius. This hot bottling process seals the syrup in an airtight container, helping it stay fresh and flavorful. Once bottled, the syrup is checked one last time to make sure it meets quality standards before being sold. Packaging is not only important for keeping the syrup fresh, but also for marketing and branding. Syrup bottles are often designed to stand out, with labels that show the syrup's grade, production methods, and local origins. Many small producers use handcrafted packaging and labels to highlight the care and quality of their syrup. Larger producers may use more standard packaging for retail sales. In both cases, the goal is to create an attractive package that gives consumers all the important details about the product. Good packaging can help build loyal customers and make the syrup stand out in a crowded market. Once the syrup is in its final container, it is sealed and labeled. It may be checked one last time for consistency and quality. Syrup that doesn't meet the standards for flavor, clarity, or color is often rejected or used for other purposes, like being sold as cooking-grade syrup or in bulk. High-quality syrup is ready to be shipped out for sale in local stores, grocery stores, or online. Many producers also sell their syrup directly from the farm or at events like maple festivals, giving customers a chance to buy fresh, local syrup. This personal touch lets customers connect with the syrup's source and help support the local economy. Maple syrup is popular because of its rich flavor, cultural importance, and the careful process used to make it. From the indigenous peoples of North America, who first discovered its sweetness, to today's producers, who still make it with care, maple syrup is more than just a sweetener. It's a symbol of tradition and skill. Its unique, natural taste attracts many people, and its use in both breakfast and cooking has made it even more popular. The process of making maple syrup, tapping trees, collecting sap, and boiling it down, has stayed mostly the same for centuries, keeping it authentic and high quality. As more people look for natural, high-quality products, maple syrup is still a popular choice because it's made with care and skill. Consumers now care more about where their food comes from and how it's made, and maple syrup's reputation for being pure and sustainably harvested fits well with these values. Maple syrup is popular worldwide because it can be used in many dishes, from pancakes to marinades and desserts. Its natural sweetness and rich flavor attract health-conscious people who prefer whole, less processed foods. Also, the growing interest in sustainable farming and supporting local, family-owned businesses has helped maple syrup become even more popular. Maple syrup has stayed popular over the years because of its authentic flavor and versatility. As more people seek natural and handmade products, maple syrup will likely continue to be a favorite, loved for its unique taste and the care put into making it. So, what do you think? Are you a fan of maple syrup? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it out, some of these other Process Powerhouse videos. Stick around, there's even more exciting moments and processes coming up next. There was a time when a glass of orange juice was just as common at breakfast as the sun coming up, bright, familiar, and always there. But somewhere along the way, things changed. Maybe it was the busy mornings, new trends, or just a habit that faded without anyone realizing. But even now, one sip brings it all back. The sweet tang, the refreshing taste, that feeling of a relaxed morning. So, here's the question. When did we stop pouring, and why haven't we started again? Well, let's find out how orange juice is made in a factory. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Process Powerhouse channel. Leave us a comment to let us know what mealtime favorites you'd like to see next. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll find a carton so old it's eligible for a senior discount. For most of history, people loved eating oranges, but drinking them took a bit longer to become popular. Oranges were eaten fresh, dried, or made into marmalade, and while some people might have squeezed a bit of juice now and then, it wasn't a daily thing. The push for orange juice began in the 18th century, thanks to sailors who were getting seriously sick. Long sea trips caused scurvy, a disease from a lack of vitamin C that made gums bleed, teeth fall out, and spirits drop fast. In the 1740s, British naval doctor James Lind found that citrus fruits could prevent scurvy, and the British Navy started giving sailors lime juice, which is why they were called limeys. But oranges were still mostly seen as a snack, not a drink. By the early 20th century, America had a problem: too many oranges and not enough people eating them. Farmers in Florida and California were growing a lot of citrus and needed to sell it before it spoiled. In 1916, Sunkist came up with a clever campaign to get people to drink an orange. The idea was simple. Instead of eating the fruit, why not squeeze it into a glass? It worked. Sales of orange juice went up, and squeezing fresh juice at home became part of breakfast. But the big change came during World War II, when the US Army needed to give soldiers vitamin C without shipping fresh fruit. The solution? Frozen concentrated orange juice. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. And after the war, brands like Minute Maid made it a popular household item. Just add water, stir, and enjoy. By the 1950s and 60s, orange juice was a must-have at breakfast. TV ads showed happy families starting their day with a tall, refreshing glass, and slogans like, "It's not just for breakfast anymore," helped boost sales. Supermarkets filled their shelves with fresh juice, frozen concentrate, and eventually, the popular not-from-concentrate cartons. For years, orange juice was as common at breakfast as eggs and toast. But like all trends, its popularity started to fade. As time went on, people became more concerned about sugar content, and busy lifestyles meant fewer sit-down breakfasts, so orange juice slowly lost its place at the table. Even with the rise of cold brew coffee, protein shakes, and the latest superfood smoothies, orange juice is still a classic. That first sip gives you the same sweet, tangy taste, whether it's fresh squeezed, store-bought, or in a mimosa at brunch. It might not be the top breakfast drink anymore, but let's face it, some things are just too good to disappear. Enough history lessons. Let's take a look inside the factory. The process starts with sourcing the oranges, which is key to making sure the final product is tasty and high quality. The main types of oranges used for juice are Valencia and navel oranges. While navel oranges are mostly eaten fresh because of their thick skin and easy peel, Valencia oranges are juicier and have a slightly tangy sweetness, making them the top choice for mass production. These oranges grow in warm places like Florida, California, and Brazil, where plenty of sunlight, moderate rainfall, and rich soil help produce the best fruit. Florida, in particular, is known for supplying most of the US orange juice, while Brazil is the world's biggest orange juice exporter, meeting much of the global demand. Each region has its own harvest season, with Florida's running from November to June and California's from December to March. During harvest, growers aim to pick the oranges when they're perfectly ripe, as the juice tastes best at that point. The process starts with hand-picking the fruit, making sure to handle delicate varieties carefully to avoid bruising, which can affect the flavor. For larger operations, mechanical harvesters may be used, which shake the fruit off the tree and catch it in nets. However, hand-picking is still the best way to keep the fruit quality high and ensure only the best oranges are used for juice. Once the oranges are picked, they are quickly sent to the processing plant, usually in refrigerated trucks, to keep them fresh. This fast transport is important because if the fruit is left in the sun or heat, the juice quality can drop. The fruit is still alive, and oxidation starts right after it's picked, so keeping it cool is key to preserving the juice's taste. The quality of the fruit is the first step, and if the oranges aren't fresh and top quality, it will show in the final juice. When the fruit arrives at the processing plant, it's carefully checked to make sure no damaged or overripe oranges are used for juicing. Any fruit that's harmed during transport or harvest can make the juice taste sour or bitter. Sorting the fruit by ripeness and quality helps ensure that only the best oranges are used. Some factories use advanced sorting machines that scan each fruit to find issues like color differences or imperfections. This makes sure the juicing process goes smoothly and the final product is consistent and high quality. When the oranges arrive at the processing plant, they are quickly moved to the washing area for a thorough cleaning. This step is important to remove dirt, pesticides, and any other residues from the orchards or transport. The washing is done in large water tanks, and some plants use special cleaners or scrubbing systems to make sure every orange is clean. High-pressure water jets are then used for a final rinse to get rid of any leftover soap or residue. Since the juice will touch the fruit's skin, it's crucial that the oranges are completely free of any harmful chemicals or dirt that could end up in the juice. After washing, the oranges are sorted by size, ripeness, and quality. This sorting process uses both machines and people to make sure only the best fruit is chosen for juicing. Oranges that are damaged or too ripe are taken out. They may be thrown away, used for other products, or sent to a market where lower quality fruit can still be sold. Some factories use optical sorting systems with sensors and cameras to automatically remove fruit that doesn't meet the quality standards, getting rid of any blemished or overripe pieces. The sorting process ensures that the juice is consistent and high quality. For example, when processing a lot of fruit from different groves or regions, the fruit needs to be sorted by ripeness. Unripe fruit can make the juice sour and less tasty, while overripe fruit can cause a fermented or off taste. Sorting is key because the taste and quality of the juice depend on how fresh and ripe the fruit is. Manufacturers take extra care with this step to make sure the final product meets customers' expectations for flavor, texture, and consistency. Another part of sorting is deciding which oranges go into different products. For example, some oranges are saved for fresh squeezed juices or not from concentrate juices, while others are used for concentrated juice. This helps make sure each batch of juice is made with the right oranges for the right product, keeping things consistent across different types of juice. Sorting the oranges by quality and ripeness also makes it easier to match the fruit to the needs of the production line. Once the oranges are sorted and cleaned, they're ready to be juiced. This is where the real extraction happens. The most common method is mechanical pressing, where the oranges are cut in half and placed in juicing machines. These machines use pressure and rotating blades to squeeze the juice out of the fruit. The goal is to get as much juice as possible without crushing the seeds or pulp, as they can make the juice bitter or grainy. The juice flows through holes in the machine while the rind and other solid parts are left behind. Recently, cold-pressed juicing has become more popular, especially for premium juices. Cold pressing works differently. Instead of using heat or mechanical pressure, the oranges are put in a hydraulic press, where a lot of pressure is applied to extract the juice. This method helps keep more of the natural vitamins, enzymes, and flavors in the fruit. Unlike traditional juicing, where heat can destroy some nutrients, cold pressing keeps the juice tasting fresh and maintains its nutritional value. While it's slower and requires special equipment, making it more expensive, cold-pressed juice has become known for being a high-end, healthy option. The juice is then filtered to remove any seeds, pulp, or other solids that might have gotten in during extraction. Filtration is usually done with fine mesh screens that let the juice pass through while trapping the impurities. Depending on the type of juice, some pulp may be kept in, giving it a thicker texture, while other juices are strained several times for a smoother, clearer look. Juice with pulp often tastes more natural, while pulp-free juice has a cleaner, lighter flavor. After the juice is filtered, it's either stored in large tanks or prepared for pasteurization or concentration. At this point, manufacturers may also start blending different batches to make sure the flavor is consistent, since oranges can taste slightly different depending on where they're grown or which batch they come from. Blending helps create the right flavor. Some manufacturers might add extra vitamin C to boost the juice or keep it fresh, though many prefer to keep it as natural as possible. Pasteurization is an important step in making orange juice because it makes sure the juice is safe to drink and lasts longer. The juice is heated to about 160 degrees Fahrenheit, 71 degrees Celsius, and kept at that temperature for 1-2 minutes. This process kills harmful bacteria and other microorganisms that could spoil the juice. while pasteurization can change the juice a bit by reducing some of its delicate flavors and nutrients, like vitamin C. It's necessary to keep the juice safe and fresh during transport and storage. There are two main ways to pasteurize juice: flash pasteurization and high-temperature short-time (HTST) pasteurization. Flash pasteurization is more common for large-scale juice production. It heats the juice quickly to the right temperature and then cools it down fast. HTST is similar, but uses a bit longer heating times. Both methods kill harmful microorganisms without changing the juice's flavor and texture too much. Manufacturers adjust the temperature and time to make sure the juice is safe without overcooking it. Some premium juice makers use alternative methods to pasteurization, like high-pressure processing, HPP. Instead of using heat, HPP uses very high pressure to kill bacteria. The juice is placed in a special chamber and exposed to pressures up to 87,000 psi. This method kills harmful bacteria without heat, helping to keep the flavor and nutrients better than traditional pasteurization. HPP is often used for cold-pressed juices that focus on maintaining the fresh taste and health benefits of the fruit. Though more expensive, HPP makes high-quality juice that tastes as close to freshly squeezed as possible. Despite its benefits, pasteurization is still the most common method for large-scale juice production because it's efficient and affordable. It allows manufacturers to make large amounts of juice that can be safely stored, shipped, and sold around the world. While consumers might not always notice small flavor differences between pasteurized and fresh juices, pasteurization is important for keeping orange juice safe, long-lasting, and available. Whether using traditional pasteurization or newer methods like HPP, this step is key to making sure the juice is safe to drink at home. For some orange juice products, especially those labeled "from concentrate," the juice goes through a process that removes some of its water. The juice is heated in a vacuum, which makes the water evaporate at lower temperatures. This removes about 60 to 65% of the water, making the juice smaller in volume and easier to store and ship. This process helps lower shipping costs because the juice takes up less space. The concentrated juice is then stored in large tanks or frozen to keep its quality. Once the juice is ready to be restored, the concentrated juice is mixed with water to bring it back to its original form. The amount of water added is carefully measured to make sure the flavor, texture, and nutrition stay the same as the original juice. Some manufacturers mix concentrates from different regions or harvests to keep the taste consistent throughout the year. For juices that are concentrated and then restored, it's important to have a steady supply of fresh fruit to make sure each batch of concentrate meets the required quality and flavor standards. While concentrated juice is common and more affordable, the process can change the flavor a bit compared to fresh squeezed juice. The evaporation process removes some of the fresh, citrusy aroma and taste. To fix this, many manufacturers add flavor packs made from the same oranges used in the juice. These packs contain oils and other compounds that help bring back the fresh flavor. Adding flavor packs is a standard practice to make sure the juice tastes consistent. The concentration process is important for producing juice on a large scale, especially for shipping juice worldwide, or for products with a long shelf life. Even though it changes the flavor a little, concentrated juice is a key part of the juice industry because it's a reliable and cost-effective way to distribute juice while keeping most of the fruit's flavor. For those who want a fresher, more natural option, non-concentrated juices and cold-pressed varieties are often preferred, but they usually cost more because of the more complex production methods. After the juice is extracted and filtered, manufacturers may adjust the flavor, especially when using juice from different harvests or regions. Oranges, like other fruits, can taste slightly different because of things like soil, weather, and when they were picked. This can cause small changes in sweetness, acidity, and taste. To make sure the flavor stays consistent, manufacturers blend different batches of juice together. Blending is a careful process that needs close attention. The goal is to make a juice that tastes the same no matter when it's made, which can be tricky with fresh fruit. For example, One batch of juice might be too sour, while another could be too sweet. By mixing juices from different places, manufacturers can make sure the juice is always sweet, tangy, and refreshing. This is especially important for 100% orange juice, so customers always get the same taste every time they buy a bottle. Some companies also use flavor packs to adjust the taste of the juice. These packs are made from concentrated orange juice and oils from the peel and zest. They help boost the flavor and smell, making the juice taste more like fresh squeezed, especially after pasteurization or concentration. Flavor packs are used in small amounts and usually come from the same type of oranges used in the juice. For 100% orange juice, the packs are used sparingly but help ensure the flavor stays consistent. Blending is also important when making juice blends, like mixing orange juice with tropical fruits like mango or pineapple. The different juices are combined to make sure they taste, feel, and sweeten just right together. Manufacturers adjust the blend during production to get the flavor balance that customers like. These careful adjustments are what create the familiar taste of orange juice we all enjoy. Packaging is an important step in the juice production process, as it keeps the juice fresh and safe from the factory to the store. After pasteurization and/or concentration, the juice is packed in different containers like cartons, plastic bottles, and glass bottles. The type of packaging depends on factors like how long the juice needs to last, whether it's fresh or concentrated, and marketing plans. Aseptic packaging is often used for juice with a long shelf life. The juice is pasteurized and then put in sterile containers so it doesn't need refrigeration until open, making it easy for consumers and cheaper for manufacturers. Aseptic packaging works by sealing the juice in a way that keeps out bacteria, air, and light, helping it stay fresh for months. The packaging material is chosen to protect the juice from light and air, which can spoil it over time. Many brands use cartons made of paperboard and aluminum to keep the juice fresh. The juice is filled into these containers in a clean environment to avoid contamination. Once sealed, the cartons are ready for shipping and storage. This method lets juice be sent over long distances without needing refrigeration, greatly extending its shelf life. For high-end juices like cold-pressed types, manufacturers might use glass bottles or plastic containers that show off the juice's fresh and natural look. These containers often have a more natural feel and are liked by people who care about sustainability and the environment. Although glass bottles are heavier and break more easily than plastic, many consumers are willing to pay more for juices in glass bottles because they seem more pure and authentic. This packaging is also used when brands want to emphasize the quality of their product, as glass is often linked to premium goods. Packaging also includes adding labels and branding. Labels give important details about the juice, like nutritional facts, ingredients, and sometimes where the fruit comes from. The design of the packaging is also important because it needs to catch the eye and attract customers. For orange juice, packaging can range from modern bottles to classic rustic cartons. The design is shaped by marketing trends and what customers expect, making sure the product appeals to its target audience while showing the brand's focus on quality. Orange juice has stayed one of the most popular drinks worldwide because of its great taste, convenience, and nutritional benefits. Its natural sweetness, refreshing flavor, and bright color make it a classic choice, especially for breakfast. Over time, improvements like pasteurization, concentration, and new packaging have made sure orange juice is always available, safe, fresh, and consistent in quality, no matter the season or location. These changes have also made it possible to ship it worldwide, so it can be enjoyed all year long, no matter where it's made. Orange juice has stayed popular by adapting to different tastes, offering options like cold-pressed, organic, and from concentrate. Its natural health benefits, like being full of vitamin C, also keep it in line with health trends. As long as it still gives that refreshing, sunny taste, orange juice is likely to stay a kitchen staple. With its consistent quality, new ideas, and connection to our daily habits, orange juice is set to remain a favorite for many years. Orange juice is more than just a drink. It's a part of daily life and tradition. From a morning glass to holiday meals and brunches with friends, it's linked to rituals that give it special meaning. This connection has helped keep it a symbol of energy, refreshment, and comfort. As brands introduce new flavors, packaging, and health-focused options, orange juice remains popular by sticking to what people love while adapting to new trends. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Your thumb gets a workout, and we get the love. And if you haven't subscribed to the Process Powerhouse channel yet, seriously, what are you waiting for? A VIP invitation. Come on, hit that button. Got a factory process you're curious about? Drop it in the comments. We might just make it happen. No promises on a conveyor belt cameo,